Hey YouTube, Coppersan here. We talked about all warrior class skill changes in yesterday's video, and today all thief classes get their turn. Let's go over all the changes that happened after the recent update. There is one general change for the Shadower, Dual Blade, Nightwalker, Cadena and Hoyon class for skills that trigger automatic Darksight. If Advanced Darksight, Shadow Jump, Pursuit or Out of Sight is triggered by an attack that deals a percentage HP damage, Darksight will now no longer be broken, but instead the cooldown will decrease, similar to how regular Darksight works. Basically the skill works the same now as regular Darksight. Anyway, starting off our list with the Explorer and Nightlord. They got a nice buff to their mobility with the removal of the cooldown on Shadow Web. This skill can be used to gain some upward momentum, which is great because this class needs a little bit of upwards mobility. A change was made to the Nightlord's 5th job skill Dark Lord's Omen, which can now be reused to explode the orb early. The active effect of 5th job skill Throw Blaster has been increased as well from 60 seconds to 90 seconds, and the amount of explosive talismans that the skill uses has been increased from 45 to 60. But the cooldown on the other hand has been increased from 120 to 180 seconds. But still, I would say this is a nice buff overall. Also, Quadstar has gotten a very nice boost, and instead of doing 378% damage, it now does a nice 420% damage at max level. But when you're using Throwing Star Barrage and you're using Quadstar, the final damage decrease is increased from 15% decrease to 20% decrease. So a little bit less final damage when you're using Throwing Star Barrage together with Quadstar. But then again, I would say this is also a buff overall. Nexon actually has been pretty generous to Nightlords, but you know who Nexon hasn't been generous to? The other two Explorer Thieves. Shadowers only had 2 buffs. Slash Shadow Formation now has an additional 20% ignore defense effect added to it, which is pretty nice in all fairness. And Boomerang Stab has had its attack range increased by 50%. An amazing change, but to be honest, it doesn't feel like it's enough. A little bit more vertical attack range would be lovely as well, Nexon, if you're watching. And then there are Dual Blades. Poor Dual Blades. They only received one change, and that's a fix. That mirror image wasn't translucent when you're fighting Ursus. And now it is! Woo! I guess Dual Bladers already are pretty well balanced, so that's why the developers didn't want to touch them. The Night of Sickness Nightwalker, on the other hand, has gotten a ton of buffs. Their final damage buff from Shadow Jump that would trigger when you're using throwing stars in the air has been removed, and instead it has been added as a passive to the Dark Elemental skill without the need of having to use throwing stars in the air. Shadow Jump now triggers Darksight as well for 2 seconds when used, which is great to avoid some damage while jumping through monsters or when you're trying to evade stuff falling from the sky during boss fights. Nightwalkers though don't have the greatest mobbing, but their bats that bounce around monsters do help, and those bats have been further increased in damage as well with the latest update. Their damage to normal monsters has been increased from 10% to 35%, that's a 25% increase in damage, that's actually pretty nice. Their 5th job skill Shadow Spear has had a similar buff, now dealing 25% more damage against normal monsters. Nightwalker's Enveloping Darkness has been buffed, and their abnormal status and elemental resistance has been increased by an additional 5%. The action delay on the last attack of Quintuple Star has been halved as well, which is quite significant I think. The 5th job skill's Shadow Bite's cooldown has been decreased from 20 seconds to 15 seconds. And the buff duration has been increased from 17 seconds to 20 seconds. So that means it's active like all the time. Whenever this skill defeats a normal monster, your final damage is increased as well, and this increase has been buffed from 1% to 2% per monster that's defeated. And when attacking boss monsters, the final damage increase has been increased as well, and this was buffed from 14% to 16%. And the max final damage increase has been increased from 15% to 18%. Overall, some nice changes for this class, making the class a bit less punishing when you aren't jump attacking and improving their mobbing. The Thief Hero class Phantom also received a ton of changes. It feels like either some classes get all the changes and some just get none. Phantom's Stabby Stab skill, Mille Guille, je ne parle français pas, has had its damage increased from 125% to 140%. To be honest, Nexon could buff it up to 200% and it would still feel kinda underwhelming, but hey, we take those wins. Phantom's 5th job skill, Phantom's Mark, has the player mark enemies, and once a few marks are collected you can use a special attack, but before only Phantom's own skills would mark enemies, but now stolen skills can do that as well, so it's a nice convenient change. The casting animation on a double jump has been completely removed. Talking about a reduced action delay, I guess it's reduced so much that there just is no more action now anymore. Also, Phantom's Cane Booster, Bad Luck Ward and Ryalias have been changed to passive buffs, slightly increasing the bonus stats from Bad Luck Ward, and casting Ryalias now actually doesn't really do anything. You just look at a pretty image of your dead lover. Phantom also got 3 new hyper skills that improve the damage and buff duration of stolen skills, and one that increases the amount of 4-job skills that can be stolen by 1. A very nice change for this class who is hungry for a bit more damage. And finally, the Ace in the Hole skill has been buffed. Now the skill throws 3 cards that bounce around instead of 1, bouncing around less but dealing a lot more damage, and the skill can be used again to deal a powerful attack. The half pirate, half thief class Xenon has gotten a few nice buffs as well. For example, their mini rockets fired by pinpoint salvo now deal 150% more damage against normal monsters, talking about a buff. Beam Dance, all 3 Mega Purge skills, the OOP Arts Code and Entangling Lash all had their action delays reduced, and also for Mega Purge Bombardment, when you use that attack mode, the attack range has been increased by 34%, which is also quite a big improvement. But the biggest changes have been made to Xenon's Omega Blaster. The attack speed of the skill was modified, while the damage has been reduced. The damage, from my understanding, is about the same, it just dealt faster. I tried looking up Xenon comparison videos, but I couldn't really find any, that's how I usually get my information. And the second of invincibility was added as well, so I'm just saying this is a buff, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong here, Xenon mains. And for the other 5th skill, Photon had its aim interval reduced, so some faster usage for this skill as well. The Cadena class received mainly some fixes and very minor improvements. Void Strike and Weapon Memory Finale no longer cancel Dark Side when you're using Pursuit, and Beatdown will no longer be cancelled when you're using certain commands during the skill. Not sure which commands, but glad that they're fixed now. Also, if the enemy is bound by the skill is too far away, you'll now teleport to the enemy to attack them, so that's a nice change. Summon Shuriken no longer triggers damage inflection, which I'm sure would have killed me if that happened to me, and their Veteran Shadow Dealer skill has had its cooldown decreased from 200 to 180 seconds, and it hits 3 times now instead of 2. So yeah, very minimal buffs for Cadena and mostly some fixes. And the final thief of this video is Hoyoung. As most Hoyoung mains already know, this class is kinda OP and it has gotten a few smaller nerfs with the recent update. The first change is that the Scroll Energy passive skill now increases final damage by 5% if you use skills of different attributes, those Humanity, Heaven and Earth ones. This is actually a nice but small buff, but the kicker is that Hoyoung also lost 10% final damage on their Advanced Ritual Mastery skill with this update as well. So the change encourages Hoyoung to use different skills to mitigate a little bit of the lost final damage, which if you mitigate it will be 5%. The number of clones that appear during the Sage Arch Clone Rampage skill has been reduced from 12 to 10, which also slightly lowers their damage. But on the flip side, their 1000-ton stone skill now links a bit more smoother with other skills, so I guess that's nice. Overall, this class is slightly nerfed, but to be honest, it's a very minimal nerf and Hoyoung is still incredibly strong. And those were all thief classes. In the next video we're gonna go over all the mage class changes. I'll try to get that one done as soon as possible as well. What do you think about all those changes? Let me know in the comments. And that was all for today. As always, many thanks to our members for making this video possible. Thanks to Niels, Coninck, Raar, maar waar, Sebastian, Hanoy, FLX, Ryalias, Terry Kim, Vareese, Dries, Zumker, Wiley, Francisco Sousa, Historycanon, BackSpaceOTI, Saffronyx, Lorenzo, BG Extremes, Anwar NHI, Frank Bouget, Ziggy Deer, Flidiot, Beamer WT, Knifesu, Chen125, Cloudfix, Jesus Rodriguez, Froggy11, Sir Tito655, Grayson Lee, Brandon Cam, Vira, Trevor, Michael Machaka, Rathius, Lucky Beats, Justin Vale, Silvio Nato, Stevie Zhang, Afterlord_MS, Heyopan, ceemak, Twuzira, Joshua Alvarez, Striker Elk, Nockem SS, Niu, Twidopan, Victor Sundstrom, Radicals the Alien, Stanislaus Kusuma Vegas, Riser RU, MD Harem, Eddie Reactor Things, Dular, Gummy Bullet and Liran Reddle. Thank you all so much for watching, stay safe and happy mapling!